A lot of you probably haven't even heard of 35 SAMBAR, but before we go into talking about that round, let's talk about how we got here. Over on Patreon, we're having a conversation about 358 Winchester because of this little bad boy, this 358 Winchester. And we're having a conversation over there, which sparked the talk about 358 cartridges and their use for shooting SAMBAR. So if you want to see some cool content and more about this gun, then head on over to Patreon because that's where all the cool stuff happens. Link is in the description. So before we start talking about this 35 caliber cartridges, let's talk about what 35 caliber is. You've really got two 35 calibers. There is the pistol 35 caliber and the rifle 35 caliber. Pistol 35 caliber is generally 357. Many of you may know it as 357 Magnum, which is a 9mm bullet. Well, it's technically just over 9mm, 9.1. Same size bullet as a 9mm Luger. 9mm Luger is what you would all know as a normal 9mm. So that is 9mm Luger. That is 357 Magnum. So a lot of people, when you say 357 Magnum, they go, "Ooh, that's a bit of a stopper, that one." So we're going to start off our table talking about 357 Magnum because I know that people do use it for hunting. And then we'll go on with all of the other 35 caliber cartridges. So 357 Magnum, let's pop up the strip at the bottom. Pushing a 200 grain projectile, 1300 feet per second. This is the speed you would get out of a carbine length rifle as opposed to a pistol. Your muzzle energy in joules is 1016. If we go off our 1500 joules mark, we're not even hitting a clean ethical kill at the muzzle. So even if you stuck the muzzle to the deer, yes, it would die, but we're not hitting that magical marker of 1500 joules that people like to talk about. So that one can go straight out the window. But I just threw that one in there just to show you that it's a pistol cartridge. It's not that great, even though, you know, it has the stigma of it's 357 Magnum. All of this data has been graded off a 200 grain projectile, so we can get all of our information, apples for apples, as best I can in comparison. Some of these cartridges you wouldn't push a 200 grain projectile, you'd probably go up to a 250, but we've done 200 grains for everything. So 35 Remington are going 2100 feet per second. You've got muzzle energy of 2654. At 100 meters, you're going 1965, and then at 200 meters, it tapers off below that 1500 joules. Generally, 35 Remington, you'll find it chambered in lever actions like a Marlin 336. So you're not normally hunting out past 100, 200 meters anyway, so there you go. That's the thing about 35 caliber is it's a short range. You're not going to be, I mean, you could artillery fucking lob it out there, but generally if you're hunting with a 35 caliber, it's because you are hunting in nice and close. The next one we'll talk about is the 358 Winchester, which is what that rifle is chambered in. So 358 Winchester, just take a 308 case and neck it up to 35 caliber. So if we take our 357 and we'll put 358 Winchester next to it, obviously makes that look pretty bloody small, doesn't it? 2700 feet per second out of a 24-inch barrel. I'm pushing out of an 18-inch barrel, so I'm getting about 2500 feet per second. But out of a 24-inch barrel, 2700 feet per second, muzzle energy is 4379. To put that in perspective, this is about the same energy as you would get out of a 4570 pushing roughly the same size pill. 4570 gets you a little bit more, but this has better ballistics, shoots flatter out to 200-300 meters, a little bit easier to hit the target, and hitting with comparative energy, just if you want to use that to wrap your head around how much energy that actually is. At 100 meters, 33.45. At 200 meters, 25.13. At 300 meters, 18.56. Then at 400 meters, we dip below our 1500. You wouldn't really hunt with this out past 300 meters anyway because of how the ballistic curve goes. It's like a bloody rainbow, so you're having to add a lot of elevation to get the round out there. So the killing power of the projectile and the ballistics of the projectile line up pretty well, that after 300 meters, it's getting fairly ineffective. Stepping that up again, so 358, Take a 30-06 cartridge, put a 35 caliber on it, and you get the 35 Wayland. So we're getting a little bit more energy again. 35 Wayland, 2850 feet per second. Energy of 4883. We're only getting an extra 100 meters out of this though. Amount of powder extra you're putting in this, you're only getting 100 meters more, and you're getting way more recoil out of a 35 Wayland than you are out of a 358 Winchester. So pros and cons, pros and cons. You step up again from a 35 Wayland, and this is where we get into our magnum size cut cases. You get into the next three. So you'll get 350 Rem Mag, 35 Sambar, and 358 CRG. 35 Sambar and 358 CRG are both Wildcats. 350 Remington used to be a factory round, but Remington doesn't produce that anymore. So if you do want to fire 350 Rem Mag, you have to hand load it. So essentially all three of these are ones you're going to have to hand load yourself. To put it in perspective, a 350 Rem Mag takes a 300 Win Mag cart case and it shortens it down to about here, and then whacks a 35 caliber on it. 35 Sambar is 300 WSM or 325 WSM necked up to 35 cal, and 358 CRG is a 300 or a 338 RCM, Ruger Compact Magnum, necked up to 35 caliber. They're all going roughly the same speed, and it's blanketed into the 2900 feet per second mark. So muzzle energy is 50-50, 50-53. That's pretty bloody good. But once again, once you hit that 400 meter mark, you can see that we're losing energy a lot. Now, this is also because I've done all these calculations off the round-nosed bullet, which has a really, really bad ballistic coefficient, which means it doesn't retain its energy because it's spending all of its energy trying to fight off wind drag and air density. It takes the energy away from it. So if we had a bullet with a higher BC, like a Barnes TSX, you would get a lot more range out of it. That's how your ballistic coefficient works. So if we step up yet again to the next two, we have the 358 Norma Magnum and the 35 HCR. The 358 Norma Mag is, once again, take your, it's almost your 300 Win Mag cart case. It's actually done off the 338 Win Mag, which is slightly shorter. But essentially you take that and you neck it up to 35 caliber. 35 HCR. If you do know what a 35 HCR parent case is, whack it in the comments below. So both these cartridges, you're going 3,000 feet per second. That's going to generate a shitload of recoil. You imagine pushing a 200 grain projectile at 3,000 feet per second. That's going to kick you pretty hard. Muzzle energy, we're stepping up exponentially up to 5,400. So you can see how our muzzle velocity over the last three has been adding a fair bit. From the 35 Wayland up to the 350 Ram Mag 35 Sambar, we went up 200 joules, right? And that was with a jump of 50 feet per second. We add another 100 feet per second onto that, and we've jumped up 400 joules, which is a bit ridiculous. But once again, because of the ballistics of this bullet, it only gets us out to 400 meters. After 400 meters, we dip below our 1500 joules targeted energy we want to get. The last one we'll cover is an absolute bloody stonker. It's a 358 STA. So you're getting a little bit more powder than the 358 Norma Mag. You're whacking a 35 caliber on there. We're pushing it at 3250 feet per second. That's absolutely bloody insane. Muzzle energy is 6352. Gets us out to 500 meters at 1571, and then it drops off 600 at 1146. So as you can see, the theme of the 35 calibers has been pretty much 500 meters and in for the last, 3 sets, and all the other ones before that, you're looking at 300 to 400 meters max. It's a good caliber for nice and in close work. Does hit extremely hard, and it has a massive frontal cross section. So if you look at the size of that bullet, let's put that next to, this here is a 7mm empty car case. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell that, but if you can see the frontal diameter from 358 to 7mm, so it's 9.1mm to 7mm, 7.1mm. So it hits bloody hard, and yeah, bit of a thumper. The 358 Winchester, if you know, fired out of this gun, which is with the scope and everything on this, it comes in at about 3.2 kilos, something like that. It's a fairly light rifle, but the recoil is actually bugger all. It's a little tiny bit more than 308, but not much, so you're getting really good energy out of it, up to 300 meters with not much more recoil. Compare that to firing a 4570, that's a shitload of recoil for not much more energy. Plus 4570 is going to drop like a rock, so you probably wouldn't even get it to 300 meters effectively. I mean, you will. You're just going to have to add a shitload of elevation, which means you're probably dialing a scope, or you've got some sort of BDC in your scope, and sounds like a bit of a pain in the ass, and that also defeats the purpose of having a really small lever action rifle if you're going to put a big bloody scope on it. So, food for thought. So there you have it, there's your 35 calibers. If there's any other caliber you want me to go through, please leave it in the comments. I've already gone through 30 cal, I've gone through the 7mm, gone through the 35s. So what really else is out there that's popular? Maybe the 270, 6.8, although I could touch the 6.5s if we were talking about fallow hunting. 6mm, 6.5s, that could be interesting for all you Tassie viewers, because you've got the 1350 joules rule. So that could be an interesting topic to cover. Let me know, leave a comment in the comments box below. Thanks very much for watching. If you want to support the channel, hit Patreon. If you want to buy some merch, link in the description. Have I covered everything? I think that's it. Yeah, alright, well, I'll see you next video, and hooroo.